Hello there. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking not about Twin Suns, which is what the channel's named for, but Premier gameplay. So we're going to be talking about a Gar Saxon aggro deck that I have been seeing kind of floating around on the YouTubes and on other content creators kind of things. I've tested it a couple times and I've really been enjoying it in a more competitive, but also in a casual sphere. And so I wanted to kind of show you that today. Now, I'm a much better casual player than I am a competitive player. So when it comes to playing in any competitions, I'm usually not going to win the competition. But I wanted to do something that was not super meta, but something kind of mid-meta to try to combat the big meta hitters that are Jango, Han, Quinlan, probably Piet with this next set. And so that's what this deck is aiming to do. So let's just get straight into it. So Gar Saxon's ability gives each friendly upgraded unit +1/+0. It's a pretty easy ability. The only thing that's bad about him is that he comes out at 6. And I'm sure you've seen other people say this. Coming out at 6 is really slow. So sometimes you can even win the game without him even coming out if you're fast enough, because of the +1/+0 on all of your units. I'm just using a regular 30-point base, Pike Palace. I found that having that mulligan with this base is helpful. There's a new base, the 27 health, that says you draw 3 extra cards and you don't get a mulligan. I haven't done a ton of testing with that, but I've seen that the numbers might be worth it, especially in an aggro deck, so I may be doing some testing. And for more information, I'm going to a Carbonite Box tournament where they're giving out Carbonite packs as prizes, which is why I want to do a competitive deck overview, because I actually kind of want some Carbonite packs because I don't have the money to buy Carbonite packs. And so this kind of deck is a cheap one. It's a very cheap deck. Not a lot of rares in here that I didn't get out of regular packs and just pre-release packs in general. No legendaries, I don't think, in here at all. If there is a legendary, I'll name it and you can see it. But yeah, that's the main reason for this deck. So let's just get right into it. First, we're going to go over, like we usually do, each card as they come. So the first card that we're seeing is Greedo. Greedo is a 1-cost, 3/1. As when defeated, you may discard a card from your deck. If it's not a unit, deal 2 damage to a ground unit. This usually doesn't go off. We have a few upgrades and a few events, but this is only really here because of another card in this deck. That's going to be the 2-cost. It's going to be Director Krennic, which you've seen on the thumbnail. So there's 3 Greedos in this deck. We have 3 Snapshot Reflexes. It is an upgrade, and when played, you may attack with a unit. It gives it +1/+1. But in essence, if it's not upgraded, it gives it +2/+1, and then an immediate attack. Hotshot Deal 44 Blaster. If you've seen my few other videos, my friend group calls this Blicky. It's a red card, but we're smuggling it with yellow for 3 most of the time, and it's going to allow us to attack with a unit automatically, very similar to Hotshot Reflexes, but it costs 3 and gives it +2/+0. And if it's not upgraded, it'll be +3/+0. So that's amazing. We have 3 of that card as well. Lots of 3s in this deck, which is great. And this is the card that we want, Director Krennic. He's a 2-cost, shielded, 2/2, so that means in essence with Gar Saxon's ability, he's a 3/2 because it's +1/+0. And the first unit you play each round that has a when defeated ability costs 1 less. So in the essence, if you get this in turn 1, you can play him for 2 and play Greedo for 0. It's a very, very good combo to get 2 units out automatically. You're threatening 6 damage next turn. Of course, they can defeat Greedo, but it's just a really good way to threaten damage. So we have 3 Director Krennics. I think he's going to be a huge staple in this kind of deck, and of course in any Thrawn deck as well. But if there are other when defeated aggro units that we can get, it's going to be a great time. Dr. Evazan, I have 2 in this deck. I probably should have 3. He's a 4/3 for 2 because of the shielded. The bounty is meh, but in general, a 4/3 for 2 is very, very good and shielded. Crafty Smuggler is a 3/2 for 2 with the shielded. I have 3 of him in. Like I said, I should probably have another Dr. Evazan, but again, he is a rare, and I don't have that many rares. So we'll have to maybe see if we can fix that eventually. Let's move Gar Saxon up. Inferno 4 has a when defeated ability, so again, it goes with Krennic, where it's 1 less if it's the first unit you've played this round. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put any number on the bottom of your deck and the rest on top. This is just great for filtering for cards that you need. It's also a space unit. We need some space units. And you can upgrade it with Snapshot Reflexes, so that's great too. Val is a new addition. I've been testing her a little bit more. She has a when defeated ability, so with Director Krennic, it's 1 less to play her, so she officially costs 1. Now, her when defeated gives 2 experience tokens to a friendly unit. I try to, if I defeat her, let the enemy get the bounty first to ping a shield on somebody, because most of my units are shielded. And then I can give that shielded unit that no longer has a shield the 2 experience tokens to hopefully help it live. And then also it still gets the +1 from Gar Saxon's ability. So I found that she's been really, really good. Most of the time when I play her and then she dies, they'll ping Krennic's shield, and then I can give him 2 experience tokens, and now he's a 5/4. So it's a really fun card. Plus you can upgrade her. Sometimes I'll upgrade her with the Hotshot DL 44, and now she's hitting for 5. So in general, she's also a good card in that way. Not as aggressive as other cards in this deck, but can lead to some aggressive plays. Surprise Strike, we're going to continue with the 2 costs. We all know what Surprise Strike does, but you can immediately attack with a unit. It gets +3/+0 for this attack. So if you're playing with something that's already upgraded with the Hotshot DL 44 blaster or something else, you're just doing a lot of damage. No Good to Me Dead is amazing to stop a leader flip turn. I've done it so many times to these 5 or 4 leader flips. Exhaust a unit, they can't ready this round. This is just amazing to have. If you have it in turn 1, you hold it if you're going against a Sabine, if you're going against a Han, if you're going against an Ahsoka. Great to play on their flip turn. And then we get to our 3 costs. So I'm going to put the 2 costs down here. We have the Client. So the Client, the reason I'm playing the Client over the new Outlaw, so there's a new Outlaw, I think it's Outlaw Bounty Hunters or something like that. It's a 3/3 shielded Underworld, is because we're playing the Advanced Tie, which gives 2 experience tokens to an Imperial unit. And so we're playing some Imperials like Inferno 4, like Director Krennic, and then the Client and a few others that are going to be able to get these experience tokens from that. Plus, he comes out as a 3/5 shielded, and then if you need to go to the late game with Gar, which you don't really want to do, you'll be able to heal a little bit more. Not a useful bounty a lot of the time, but 3/5 for 3 shielded rather than a 4/3 for 3 shielded. It's 1 damage off. If I start losing by that 1 damage, I'm definitely going to look into the Outlaws. That's from set 4. 7 Fleet Defender is a 3/2 shielded, so it's a 4/2 shielded with Gar's ability. Just a really great card. Also, it's an Imperial, so we can upgrade it with the Advanced Tie. Waylay, we need Waylay just in general to get rid of Sentinels on the field if we need to get through a Sentinel to win the game, or just in general a big unit that's going to kill a lot of our units. We need to get it with Waylay. So we have 3 of them as well. Just kind of a stalling tactic to hit face. Perilous Position is another card, just like with No Good to Me Dead. We play it on the leader flip turn. They get -2/-2. We exhaust them. It really delays the leader flip turn for our enemies. And since we don't usually flip, or if we do flip, it's like one of the last things we do. This is great because they don't really get a lot of aggro against us. Now here's where it gets a little different. Since the new set just came out, I only have 1 Iden Versio. She's a great unit. She's 4/3 shielded, so she's a 5/3 automatically, and she can be a pilot a turn earlier. And give a shield token to a unit. So she can be an upgrade and shield it. So this on Inferno 4 on turn 1, her on turn 2, is threatening a 3/3 and a 2/3. And then it's upgraded, so it's +1. So it's 6 damage to base on turn 2. Is a lot of fun. And then by herself, just being on the ground as a 5/3 for 4 is just a great, great card. Because I don't have more than 1 of her, I'm substituting the others with Lawn Pike. Because Lawn Pike basically has a shield on attack. So having more health to survive while they're out, and then being able to on attack make it a 5/6. Because when you on attack, you may give a shield token to an enemy unit. If you do give a shield token to a friendly unit, you can give it to Lawn Pike. It is now upgraded, so it hits for 5. So surprise striking with this is 8 damage to face. Same thing with Iden, but they don't always see this one coming. The only bad synergy here is it's an Underworld card where we want more Imperial units, and Iden is an Imperial unit. So I'm aiming to get more Idens and swap those out. But for now, I'm going to be taking this to the competition because my Idens are not here yet. Then we have the Shuttle ST-149. This is a great card that was built for Krennic, obviously, because this is Krennic's Shuttle. It's a 3/4 shielded when it comes into play. It is a 4/4 shielded because of Gar Saxon. And then when played, when defeated, you may take control of a token upgrade on a unit and attach it to a different eligible unit. So if anybody has experience tokens on them or a shield token on them, you can take control, and that is enemies as well. Great card because it has a when defeated ability, so you can play Krennic turn 1 with Greedo turn 1, and then you can play this for 3 on turn 2, and it's a 4/4 for 3. Great card. I have 3 of it as well. I think that's just a really great card in this deck. Last few cards here, we have the 2 tie advanced, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly unit. When I get 3 of Iden, I'll probably make this 3, but for now it's 2. And then our last one is kind of a bit out there. It's another bounce card. So it's a Geonosis Patrol Fighter. We have 2 of them. It's Exploit 2. It's a Separatist Vehicle Fighter. It's a 3/2 for 5, but usually it's going to come in as a 3-cost unit. So it's a 3/2 for 3. And when played, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. So this is just another way to get rid of Val. So if we have Val in the deck and we want to defeat her to get the when defeated ability, we can exploit Val and end up returning something of the enemies to their hand to stop them from trying to win the game right at that moment. I'm not sure how I feel about this card yet. Let's go through the sideboard and kind of talk about what we would take out, because there's a reason. Right on top here, we have Commandeer. So take control of a non-leader vehicle unit that costs 6 or less without a pilot on it. If you do, ready it at the start of the next regroup phase, return it to its owner's hand. So Commandeer is probably what I'm going to be swapping this out for. I'm not 100% sure on which one to run main deck. Commandeer is more of an anti-Jango card because on turn 4 or turn 5, he can Triple Dark Raid into a Ruthless Raider. You can take control of the Ruthless Raider and do 4 damage and then return it to their hand. Obviously, returning it to their hand doesn't stop them from playing it next time, but it stops them from Triple Dark Raiding and dealing 4 to base that way. So Commandeer might end up being switched out for Geonosis Patrol Fighter, but I'm not sure yet. So Commandeer is a great card in general. What I've learned is, from just looking online at a few different deck choices here, is that Gar Saxon has a bad time beating Han 1, mainly because of the Cunnings. So Cunning can exhaust 2 units and then bounce a unit with, I think it's 4 or less attack. And so discarding Cunning is very, very important. And so in our sideboard, we have Unmasking the Conspiracy, because most of the discard package in this game is in red, hero red, or it's in yellow or hero yellow. There's not a lot of discard in blue or villain yellow. There is a little bit with Bazine, but Bazine says discard a card and then they get to draw a card. And then, of course, you can bounce her with McClunky and you can bounce her with Pirated Starfighter. I thought about adding that whole thing to the sideboard and then just swapping out all the Imperials for that. I'm not 100% sure yet, so I'm kind of going to go with this for this weekend because that's what the competition is this weekend, and I don't know if there's going to be a ton of Han 1. I'm assuming there's going to be a ton of Jango, which this is also good against Jango, but it's not 100% needed against Jango because this deck does go so fast. And another thing to note, against Jango, almost all my units are shielded, except for Long Pike. And that's why I want to get rid of a Long Pike, because almost all my units are shielded except Greedo. Greedo can die in 1 ping anyway, so it's not even worth it. Inferno 4 isn't shielded, but playing Iden on Inferno 4 gives it a shield. Almost everything else comes out with a shield or upgrades something. And so we don't really need to protect from pings because the shield is protecting from pings. So Unmasking the Conspiracy is going to help us against Han. We have 3 of that in the sideboard. It only costs 1, but you have to discard a card from your hand. So you're playing 2 cards to discard their 1 Cunning. The third Geonosis Patrol Fighter, I'm still not 100% sure about that yet. Sweep the Area lets us return up to 2 non-leader units in the same area with a combined cost of 3 or less to its owner's hands. This is kind of a turn 2 play against Sabine or an aggro deck where you can return their turn 1 play, or both their turn 1 plays if they played a 1 cost and a 1 cost, or they played a Leia and then a 1 cost. I think that's kind of funny in general to do that. I have 3 of it in here mainly because I just wanted more waylay to get things out of my way, and so I can hit for face faster than they can. I have 1 Super Commando Squad. Not sure if this is needed at this moment. I have it in here kind of just as a filler at the moment because I wanted to have a 10-card sideboard. I don't know how I feel about this card yet. Because it's a 5 cost and on turn 5 we're trying to play either Commandeer or we're trying to play like a 3 cost and a 2 cost card, or if we're trying to play a pump and another pump. A lot of the times on that turn I end up smuggling this out and I end up playing Surprise Strike. And so I'm doing 2 big pumps to hit them and get them down really close to the end of the game. And so then turn 5, that's my turn 5. And so this doesn't really do anything. Whereas when I pump something, I'm doing 2 extra damage here and 3 extra damage with the Surprise Strike on turn 5. Whereas I'm just playing this and then it's 5 damage next turn. I could end up playing it. I'm not 100% sure on it yet, but that's in my sideboard just in case eventually I put it in. I'm not really sure why I have it there. So that's the deck. It's a pretty simple deck. All it really wants to do is play low-cost cards, hit phase as fast as you can. Lines of play for this are always resourcing Hotshot DL44 Blaster. If you get a 2-cost card on turn 1, you want to play that 2-cost card, whether that be Inferno 4, Crafty Smuggler, Dr. Evazan. You really want it to be Director Krennic, but your second best choice is going to be Dr. Evazan, which is why I need another third Dr. Evazan. When I get that third one, I will definitely be putting him in. But Director Krennic is going to be your top choice for your turn 1 play, because if you get Director Krennic, you can play him, and if you have a Greedo in hand, you can play him as well. Turn 2 is definitely going to be, if you have a Director Krennic, you can play the Shuttle for turn 2 if you have it in your hand. If you don't have it in your hand, that's totally okay as well. For turn 2, you can play a 7th Fleet Defender because it comes out as a 4-2, and you can pump it later. You can also play the Client because it comes out as a 3-5. Any card that is a 3-cost card on turn 2 is going to be fine. Probably keep the Waylays for some stalling. Just don't play those on turn 2. Turn 3, if you want to pump something up, if you're lane dodging at them, like if they're not playing a lot of space units and you have a 7th Fleet Defender in play, lane dodging to play this and buff this up even more is a great call. Or if you have all ground and you want to put this in space and put this on Director Krennic, also a great call. He may be unshielded at that point, so that would upgrade him and get him back to a 5, a hitting for 5. Also, if you don't have Director Krennic out, playing this for 4 is perfectly fine, but preferably playing Iden or Lom Pike, or if we're playing all Idens, then we're playing Iden if we can, because that's just going to be a great turn 3. And then when we get to turn 4, which is the 5-cost resource phase, if you have Val, trying to defeat Val so you can pump something else up, and then when you pump it up with Val, being able to pump her with this and hitting something else with Surprise Strike can sometimes end the game that early, or they understand that your next move is going to be flip Gar, hit with Gar, probably upgraded. Probably because you have another one of these in your resources that they may or may not know about. So this deck can be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun against aggro, watching them struggle, because sometimes you see a Sabine and they play their Battlefield Marine, and then you take it out with Krennic, and now they can't Fleet Lieutenant their turn 1 play, and so they have nothing to play, and so they just play a Fleet Lieutenant by itself, whereas you have Krennic still on the field, and you can play your Shuttle for 1 less. It's a really fun deck to play. I've been testing it a lot against aggro. I haven't tested it a ton against the meta decks that I've been talking about. Really excited. I'm going to be doing a lot of deck testing tomorrow with a friend of mine, and then we're both going to be going to this Carbonite Box tournament on Saturday. So hopefully next week I'll have a little bit of an update with this deck. I may post like a shorter video next week, kind of going over what I changed or what might be better. Of course, tomorrow after some testing, I might be changing it a bit, or I might end up going with a totally different deck. I have a Quinlan Red deck built that my friend built that I find really fun. I don't have all the cards for it, of course. Again, I don't have a ton of cards. I work with what I have. So thanks again for watching, and that's the Gar Saxon aggro deck. And I hope you guys have a great week. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.